My respects to session chair, dear delegates. A warm good afternoon to one and all who gathered here. So my research topic is on effectiveness of non-weight bearing exercise on diabetic foot ulcer healing, risk assessment and health related quality of life among patients with diabetic foot ulcer. So the background goes around 422 million adults have diabetes. That is 1 in 11 person has diabetes, according to the WHO fact sheet April 2021. And the top 10 countries with the highest prevalence of diabetes is China with 114.4 million and India with 72.9 million. And this number is going to increase by 2045 and India is going to lead with 134.3 million people affected with diabetes. So 8.3 of the world's population are diabetic and 80% of these people are living in the developing countries. And one of the complications of diabetes is the diabetic foot ulcer. So which affects the foot and which leads to amputation and sometimes not treated properly person can land up in death also. So the prevalence, again, if you see, India, it has got 11.6% prevalence of diabetes, and Asia with 5.5%, and North America leading with 13% of diabetes. So let us move into the diabetic foot ulcer prevalence. The prevalence of type of diabetic foot ulcer. So we have various types of diabetic foot ulcer. With the neuropathic ulcers, 46% of people are affected. Ischemic foot ulcers, 12%, and neuroischemia, 30%, and neither is 12%. And compared to early stage ulcers, gangrene was associated with an increased risk of mortality. So within 1 year, there is increased risk of mortality up to 80%, and 2 years, 69%, and by 5 years, the mortality rate reduces to 28.64%. And diabetic foot ulcer takes about 90 to 150 days to heal. And diabetic foot ulcer patients spend 4 times more than those who do not have ulcers. So estimated around 5.7 years of their average income has been spent on treating the patient, treating themselves for the diabetic foot ulcer. So we have different care that is being provided for diabetic foot ulcer patients. So either it could be an ambulatory care or salvage or limb amputation, and even it goes up to bypass surgery also. So the amount of money spent on these treatments varies from ambulatory care to the bypass surgery. So person has to spend around 3,920 to 1,37,200 in rupees. So the chronic ulcers and amputations resulted in a significant reduction in the quality of life of the person and also increases the risk of early death. And diabetic foot ulcer related overall lowers the health related quality of life, which is relating to their physical health, body pain, emotional well-being, social functioning, energy fatigue, and general health perceptions. And during the 3-year follow period, a diabetic foot ulcer patients have also had recurrence of ulcers, and the predictors for the recurrence were because of plantar ulcer location, bone infection, and poor diabetes control. So patients with diabetes and history of foot ulcers have reduced ankle dorsiflexion and subtalar joint range of motion, which increases their plantar pressure. So the foot exercise promotes the muscular contraction and causes the immediate rise in blood flow. And the exercise also helps in the production of nitric oxide, which regulates angiogenesis for the wound healing. So that is the background why patient with non-weight bearing exercise was chosen as an intervention for the patients with diabetic foot ulcer. So a similar study which was conducted was a 12-week prospective pilot study was conducted, and which showed that there is a non-weight bearing exercise showed reduction in the wound size. Another study showed that the diabetic foot ulcer size was decreased in persons who exercised more. So with this background, the statement of the problem was formulated. And the primary objective of this study was to assess the effectiveness of non-weight bearing exercise on the healing, risk assessment on the unaffected limb, and also to assess the health related quality of life. So this is the hypothesis. The operational definition. So diabetic foot ulcer was assessed using University of Texas wound classification, and poorly healing neuropathic, non-ischemic and non-infected ulcers were chosen. because of the limitations that has related to the non-weight bearing exercise, we did not take patients with the other type of diabetic foot ulcers. And diabetic foot ulcer was assessed using the push tool scale. Pressure ulcer scale for healing was assessed to know the healing status, and also blood flow velocities were also assessed using BiDop. A handheld Doppler was used to know assess the blood flow to the foot. A non-weight bearing exercise, patients were given, and the ankle joint, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion and eversion movements were given, and metatarsophalangeal joints, flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction movement was given for the 1 month in 1 week interval. The risk assessment was assessed using Registered Nurses Association of Ontario Foot Risk Assessment Scale, and health related quality of life was assessed using diabetic foot ulcer scale developed by Johnson & Johnson. So this is assumption. So the review of literature was collected based on prevalence of diabetic foot ulcer, current management, non-weight bearing exercise on risk reduction, and non-weight bearing exercise on foot ulcer healing, quality of life, and Doppler on blood flow assessments. The conceptual framework, Wittenberg's prescriptive nursing practice theory was used. Methodology, it's a randomized controlled trial. So patients were randomized using a block randomization, and they were divided into study and control group. A pre-test was done during their first visit. An intervention was given for 4 weeks in a 1 week duration. And first post-test assessment was done at the 5th visit around 1 month, and 6th visit around 2 months, the second assessment was done. So this is a flow chart for participants recruitment. Totally, we had attrition of 3 in the, we had attrition of 3. So because of in the study group, because of a loss to follow up. So that was the reason for the attrition. And in the control group, we had 1 attrition, and amputation, 3 patients were gone for amputation. So this is the details of intervention. So popliteal artery was chosen for assessing the blood flow to the foot using a BiDop handheld Doppler. And patients were given the dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion, eversion movements. And the movements over the metatarsophalangeal joints were also given. So this is the pamphlet that was prepared in both English and Tamil language for the patients to practice the exercise, and also on foot care practices. The total number of sample size is 242, study group 121 and control group 121. So 110, 110. And inclusion and exclusion criteria, patients, adults with more than 18 to 80 years of age, any gender, having neuropathic ulcer, having ulcer in the plantar aspect of the foot, and able to understand Tamil or English, and having non-infected wound. And exclusion criteria, any type of amputation of lower extremity was excluded, ulcer on both legs was excluded, recurrent ulcers, signs of ischemia, and less than 4 weeks of diabetic foot ulcer, and current practice of non-weight bearing exercise. So the tool description, this is the demographic and clinical variables that was included in the study. And University of Texas wound classification system. So we have taken the grade 1 non-infected, non-ischemic ulceration. And blood flow was assessed using the Doppler, handheld BiDop Doppler was used to assess the blood flow. Only pulse artery index was taken for doing the analysis. And pressure ulcer scale was used for assessing the healing, which includes the length and width of the wound, which was used using the planimetric measurements. And exudate amount was assessed whether it is light, moderate, or heavy. And tissue type, the healing type of the wound was also assessed. So based on these criteria, the wound healing was measured. So this is a daily exercise practice calendar which was given to the patient, and they were asked to mark how many times they have done the exercise. This is a diabetic foot ulcer scale, which assesses the quality of life of the patients. This is a diabetic foot risk assessment form. So the unaffected limb was assessed for development of ulcer. So this is a data collection procedure. So coming to the data analysis. So Most of the patients falls in the age group category of 66 to 75 years. So 45% in the study group and 43% in the control group. So all the variables, background and clinical variables, there is homogeneity was found between the study and the control group. And most of the patients were from the rural area, and the educational status, they had primary school certificate in both the groups, and family income was around 10,000 to 15,000 in rupees. And social support, spouse was the social support in both the groups. Gender, so most of the patients were male in both study and control group. And type of family, they were nuclear family. So clinical variables includes alcohol habits. So most of the patients don't have the alcohol habit during the study period. And the current smoking status also nil, not less. And dietary pattern, if you see mixed, they had mixed dietary pattern. And BMI was between 23 to 30. And duration of diabetes, most of them had more than 10 years of diabetes mellitus who had the complication of diabetic foot ulcer. And history of diabetes mellitus, family history also around 60% in the study and 66% in the control said that there is no family history. And glycemic control, average glycemic control was maintained in both the groups. Comorbidities, 66.9% had comorbidity in the study and 72.7% in the control group. And practice of complementary therapies, there is no other practice of other treatment, 73.6% in the study and 68.6% in the control group. And most of them were on insulin support, 81% in the study and control 84.3%. And site of diabetic foot ulcer, 52% had in the study and 60% had ulcer in the right side of their foot. And type of dressing, an antimicrobial agent was used for the dressing. So this is a comparison of diabetic foot ulcer healing between the groups. So in this picture, you can see the study group. So this is their wound size. So the blue color study group, 13.35 centimeter square. And in the control group, the wound size when we started the initial assessment, it was 14.69. So after 2 months in the post-test 2, we could see the wound size in the study group has reduced to 5.13 and in the control group also it reduced to 8.8. So both the groups showed there is a decrease in the wound size, but you statistically, if we see, there was increased wound size reduction was seen in the study group. So the percentage reduction in the wound size in the study group was 61% and control group it was 40%. So this is a repeated measures ANOVA of diabetic foot ulcer healing. So over the period, if you we could see in both the groups, there is a significant improvement in the wound size reduction. So this is a risk assessment of unaffected foot. So the risk assessment includes both knowledge as well as high risk for development of knowledge deficit as well as high risk for development of foot ulcer. So knowledge deficit was found during the pre-test, but post-test in the study group, we could see they were able to answer all the questions. So we could see there is a knowledge deficit we could not see in the study group, whereas control group still we could see some patients had few deficit of knowledge. And the mean score of risk assessment, there was a significant difference between the study and the control group, which was also supported by a study conducted by Meng Brain, where an individualized education about diabetes mellitus is very important for the patients in order to develop, in order to have diabetic food practices. And also to reduce the risk behavior, education is very important for the patients. And this is the assessment of blood flow. So assessment was, blood flow was also seen. There is an increased blood flow was seen in the study group, though it is not for a long-term effect, but it has had 30 minutes of effect among the study group participants. So study group participants, we could see there is an increase in the flow after the exercise of 5 minutes and slowly we could see there is reduced. So through continuous practice, we could see there is a improvement in the blood flow to their foot. So this is a repeated measures ANOVA of blood flow. So there is a significant difference between the study and the control group. Though we could see some improvement in the control group also, but it is not significant to that of the study group. So there were a similar study that was conducted by Shajimoon in 2018, where they could see the effects of neutral and active ankle position by using the Doppler measurements, and there is a significant blood flow increase is seen in the plantar flexion as compared to dorsiflexion. So this is a comparison of health-related quality of life between the groups. So we could see leisure, physical health, daily components were included, and significant difference was seen in the leisure, emotional, and physical health of the patient between the study and the control group. And there is also significant difference with the non-compliance, family, treatment, and the friends. Other significant difference was found in the satisfaction, positive attitude, and the financial component. This is the overall health-related quality of life between the groups. We could see there is a significant difference between the study and the control group. Quality of life has improved as patients who practiced the non-weight-bearing exercise. This is a correlation among the post-S3 push score, blood flow, and the health-related quality of life. So we could see as the wound size decreases, the blood flow increases. We could see there is a negative correlation that exists, which is statistically significant found in the study group participants. And we don't find this correlation in the control group. This is a level of practice, so which we assessed using the daily calendar where the patient practiced the exercise. So fifth visit and sixth visit, we could see from poor practice and average practice, it has increased to the average and the good practice in the study group. Okay. There was significant association was found between the current smoking status and the diabetic foot ulcer healing. So these are all some of the research findings. So limitation is offloading measures and food fear modifications was not included in the study. Only non-weight bearing was taken, and the blood glucose was also not measured. It was that's a limitation what we have. And this is nursing implication, as Sarah was telling in the previously during her study. So we have an independent nurse-led clinic done by the Department of Medical Surgical Nursing for diabetic foot care. So we have this clinic where we practice. We have included certain investigations also where we assess for Doppler and neuropathy assessment is also being done, and we provide education for the patients, and the dressing is also being done. Diabetic dressing is also done for the patient. So we have initiated this clinic and it is running successfully. And we also provide training for the students. We provide some elective courses for the students where we train the students on diabetes care. So that was also taken as an initiative. So I'm so happy that I'm also a part of this clinic and the program that is being run. And there are lots of research activity is also being conducted in this clinic. And the future recommendations for this is, this can be focused as a primary prevention in reducing the diabetic foot risk and conducted with long-term follow-up, and comprehensive diabetic foot care interventions can be included and followed for recurrent ulcer, because we could see statistics also says that recurrent ulcer is very common among the patients, and cost analysis can also be done, and diabetic foot rehabilitative measures and other supportive document like objective evidence like neuropathy evidence using biothiometer or body scan, plantar pressure monitoring can also be included to have more support related to the study. So to conclude, non-weight bearing exercise is effective in enhancing the wound healing by increasing the blood flow to the ulcer site, and wound healing has showed a direct effect over the health related quality of life. Further, the risk identification at early stage and follow-up of food practices reduce the risk of diabetic foot ulcer development in the unaffected limb. So thank you for your patience listening.
Thank you so much for the presentation.